Well, that wasn't very good. That stop motion had some problems happen in it. That's what this video is about. I'm going to show you what some of the problems were, some of the problems you may have, some of the problems that I had, and we're going to try and sort it all out so we can create better stop motion so we can get that epic product commercial. Let's get into it. I love doing stop motion. It's a lot of fun. I love the effect. I think it looks so cool, and it is honestly a lot of fun to do. If you haven't tried stop motion, you should give it a go. What I'm going to do though is I'm going to put some links down below to some other videos I did on stop motion, particularly the app Stop Motion. No, I am not sponsored by them. It is a free app. There is a purchase available for it so you can get the pro level. I think most people simply use just the free version, and that's what I've basically been using, and it works brilliantly. With that being said, the clip that I showed you had a lot of problems in it. Now, one of the things you're going to need to do, and it'll be the best thing you ever did, was go into the app and set everything on manual. Don't let anything change other than what you want and when you want it to. So go into the app and set everything, and I mean everything, on manual. Because the first problem I had in that video, now this is subjective if you're color grading and white balance to what you want for the effect in the video. But in that clip, the scene was too blue, had a bit of a blue cast to it. I could correct it in post, but we should get it right in camera. Now, you can see in this little clip here, the white balance is fine. But when I bring the bowl in, as soon as I bring that bowl in, it tricks the system, and now I get a shift in white balance. So there's not the continuity across the scene, which there should be in the white balance. Your white balance should not change when you're moving things in and about. So that's the first thing. Make sure you're on manual and make sure you select the proper white balance so you don't get that shift. Now, another thing with your stop motion, as I say, you want to control everything. Put your cell phone in a bracket on a stand so it does not move. You do not want your camera to move, because if you're pressing the back, it's going to move it too. Even though you're on a tripod, if you're touching the back of your phone, it's going to move. You can use your earbuds with the volume up and down and use it as a kind of a remote for it, wired remote, but it'll work. You can also use the self timer within the app. Again, mount your camera solid. It does not move, because if it moves, your whole scene is going to shift and you got problems. I would suggest when you're doing your stop motion, you use kind of light like I've got kind of going on here. Artificial light does not change. You do not want to use natural light, daylight, because it'll shift and change as you're doing your setup. That is a bad thing. You're going to kind of get the effect like we did with the white balance if you're using daylight. If you're using a constant light like this, like within this video, the lighting doesn't change. It stays constant. And that's what you want for your stop motion. Now, another thing to be aware of is the shadow that you cast. You can kind of see on the table here that shadow bit going on. Now, look in this clip. You can see I'm kind of getting in the way of the light and I'm casting shadow onto the scene. So if you're moving the item, but you're not quite getting back out of the way, you're going to leave a shadow cast onto your set. That's going to cause you problems. Make sure that you're back far enough from your set that you're not projecting shadows across it. Because like I say, you're going to go back and, oh, I got to redo that whole thing again. That just took me half an hour to do that set. Make sure you don't cast shadows on your set. Make sure you're using a constant light source that is not changing. Saying that a lot, things don't change. Now, another thing, I don't know if you saw in that video, when the popcorn was coming out of the bowl, did you notice the bowl wiggle a little bit? Because when I was reaching in, I was accidentally moving the bowl. It was not intentional, didn't even notice it, but it happened. So when I played it back, the bowl had a bit of a wiggle. That is a mistake. If your item gets touched and it's got knocked out of place, you're going to see it. When you run the clip back, you'll see it just like that. How do we fix that? The app has us covered for that. Check out this little transparency slider that's within the app. Brilliant. Look how well that works. You take your photo and then you accidentally moved it, but if you change the transparency slider, you can see the last photo taken and where you are. So you can kind of line it right back up again so you can continue on. So if I would have used the transparency slider, I would have seen that the bowl had moved a bit. I could have relined the bowl and then done the next shot. Wouldn't have been a problem. Transparency slider, handy. Not only just for putting objects back into the place where it should have been, but when you're doing your path and you want it to go a certain way, you can use the transparency slider. I usually slide it down almost halfway. That way I get good ghosting to it. Then you can see your last shot, where your new one's going. Take a photo. The next one. And you kind of leave a trail with a transparency slider, so you can see the exact path that you're going to make sure it's accurate. So those are a lot of the most common things that I see going on within the stop motion, and these are problems that I have. Now, once you get your camera solid, once you're in manual mode, that takes care of the bulk of your problems. The main thing then gets to be is your technique in what you're doing, how you're going to release the shutter, and the things that you're doing within your set. The transparency slider is a godsend to make sure that everything is where it needs to be or where it needs to go. Short and sweet, some common problems to help get you better at product commercials in stop motion. That's it for this one. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. Hit that bell notification so you're aware when I post new videos. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. So, until the next time.